יש לו שכן שהיה בא בקורבה.
אוקיי, כן, כן.
אפשר להתחיל? So, Be'ez Hashem, we're learning this evening in the Rebbe's Dvar Malchus from Rosh Chodesh, Kislev, and Shabbat Tsfat, and Shabbat Tsfat, Toshin Non Bey. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset at Tzemach Tzedek, Be'ir HaKodesh, Be'ir Atiko, Shel Ir HaKodesh, Be'ir Atiko, Shel Ir HaKodesh Tzfat, and this evening is Oyer L'Yom Beis to Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That's to say, today was Yom Aleph, and tonight is Oyer L'Yom Beis of Rosh Chodesh Kislev Toshin Ayin Tet. So this was a sikha that the Rebbe said that b'miyuchad for Rosh Chodesh Kislev, but it's well known to all the listeners that Rosh Chodesh Kislev was the day that after the heart attack which occurred on Shmini Atzeres, Toshin Lamed Ches, the Rebbe appeared for the first time outside the actual building, and he left 770 in order to go home. And that day was Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and that's been taken by the Rebbe himself as well as being the day of celebration of the Rebbe's Refuah Shleima Acharei, what was a very, very frightening and very, very terrible experience that occurred on the first night of Shmini Atzeres in Toshin Lamed Ches. So the Rebbe begins B'negel to Rosh Chodesh in general. By the way, what happened to your neighbor? He came for a few times.
He keeps saying he's going to come, but he's
you don't see him.
He gets tired. Maybe he gets tired. I don't know.
You don't know what it is. So it says the Rebbe Rosh Chodesh Urach Haschole Shel Chodesh Chadash. The Parshas, Shalom Aleichem. If we just take the expression Rosh Chodesh, well, that's indicatory of the beginning of a new month. Rosh being the idea of a Hatchalah. L'chol Rosh, L'chol Rosh Chodesh, Yesh Mashmoed. To every Rosh Chodesh, there is a significance, which is a mashmois klolius, a general significance, shekayemes b'kol Rosh Chodesh, which is there on every Rosh Chodesh and is part and contained in the general message of Rosh Chodesh, and that's shared to all of them. And that's equal to all the Rosh HaKadoshim. V'lochein b'kol chodesh kohen b'tfilas musav al isha korban u'varoshei chodshechem takrivu oil Hashem. Said the Rebbe, one of the indications that Rosh Chodesh has a general allied message to all Rosh Chodesh is the fact that on every Rosh Chodesh we read the same portion from the Torah, and in the Musaf of every Rosh Chodesh we mention in the Tfilas Musaf the same Kavanah. Well, that tends to indicate that that is something allied and essential to every Rosh Chodesh that doesn't alter. Because if it were a different type of yontif for every Rosh Chodesh, then it would be mustaba to read something else or to have a special, as it were, difference. Then again, so the Rebbe is going to make the point that there is a special difference in every Rosh Chodesh, but there's a general allied significance and message to all the Rosh Chodesh, and therefore that's expressed in the exact similarity both of the Kriyas HaTorah and Musaf of every Rosh Chodesh. ולכן בכל ראש חודש קודם בתורה ובתפילת מוסף הרויס הקורבן ובראשי חודשיכם תקריבו אוהל להשם ומשמעות מיוחדת השייכת במיוחד לאיש החודש. So there will be, in addition, however, to that general mashmois that is there in every Rosh Chodesh, and that is absolutely similar and allied in all the Rosh Chodeshim, there's also a special significance and message which is shaykh only to that particular Chodesh, depending on what time of the year it occurs and in reference to what in Yonim it occurs, and so on and so forth. It has a special individual importance of its own, apart from the general importance or significance of every Rosh Chodesh. And that's a mashmois miyuchedes, ashayeches b'miyuched lo'ish chodesh, l'shmoi shel ha-chodesh, ha-chagim shaboi v'oi. The Rebbe said that's expressed often in the name of the chodesh. From the name, we can already deduce certain specialities which are shot to that chodesh in particular, and not to any other chodesh. As well known in Shara Yichud, at the beginning, the Alter Rebbe tells that the name of a thing, Al Pitera, carries the message of the inner essence of that particular inyan. Therefore, the name of a month also tells me something that's very miyuchad to that month, and is not part of the general message. And he said also, many of the months, or most of them, also have some sort of chag or special yontif which occurs in those months, and then those Yom Tovim tell me a special message which is a part of the message of that month. Those chagim occur in that particular month because it has a special characteristic which makes that yontif occur especially in that particular month. Lahonan Tuzbar, as we go along, the Rebbe said it will be explained, the special and individual message of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. We're going to talk about that as we go along. He said, Gam b'mashmois ha'klolias, v'gam ha'miyuchodim shabai. We're going to find that even in the mashmois klolias, Chodesh Kislev has a very special emphasis in what is a general message of all the months. Kislev has a very special aspect to that general message, and then there's going to be very special messages which are peculiar in an individual way to Kislev b'miyuchad. V'ayika b'kesher l'matorah הכי חשובה של כל היהודים בכל הדורות, And the Rebbe said we're going to find a very special significance in the individual message of Kislev, which is linked with what Yidden have waited for all the generations, that there's going to be a very special message in Kislev, which is indicatory of the bringing of the Gula Shlema, and what is the koyach to bring Moshiach B'Poyo. And that's what the Rebbe said about Miyuchad Akshor, in our time and age. And the Rebbe said he's already mentioned this many times in recent time, meaning then in Toshin Nun Beit, how the whole of Veda now is only Lekabel Panei Moshiach Tzidkenu. Like we learned last week, if you remember, the Rebbe said the whole of Veda Shashlichas nowadays is only in one and central Pa'ula or Inyan, and that is Lekabel Panei Moshiach, not to just talk about Moshiach and be more about Moshiach, and to find in Yonim, which are shaykh to our Avodah in the Geula, and so on, but to be Makabel B'Poyo, Kabbalas Pnei Moshiach Tzidkenu. Mahi HaMashmois HaKloliyas Shel Rosh Chodesh. So the Rebbe said, let's take a look at what is the general message of every Rosh Chodesh, and in that Gufa, we'll find a special emphasis that we get to Kislev also. Chodesh, says the Rebbe, Pirushoi Chidush. When we use the word Chodesh, we refer to a certain period of time, but what do we refer to? We refer to a whole period whereby the moon has gone through a whole cycle, and the moon has begun and it's gone all the way around, and when it comes back again to where it started from, that's the completion of the Chodesh. And then we begin counting a new Chodesh. Over it follows then that the word Chodesh means the new start of the cycle of time to which we count our time. And Yidden count their time from the moon. The Umas Olam count according to the sun. But we count according to the moon, and so it goes in a cycle, which means that every 30 days or so, there's like a new start, a chiddush. And that's the word chodesh, what it indicates this idea of newness. Acharei, shayareach tishkaso after the moon becomes covered over little by little, it goes all the way down until it becomes, as the one on is brought down in the Gemara and in Medrash Chazal, that there are like two moments. There's a moment where the moon ceases to be entirely. It's only a short moment, momentarily, but it does actually occur that like there's an absolute zero, and then from that absolute zero, there begins a wondrous new beginning, which is albeit in the form of a nakuda. The Rebbe is going to point out to us that nakuda has a very unusual power and expression, benegir to Avedis Ha'olam also. So the Rebbe said, Omnam az hurak begeidel shel nakuda. The truth is that when that neilad mechadash, when the moon is born over from the new, it appears only in the form of a nakuda. So a nakuda is something not very impressive or very sensational. It's just a little windy nakuda. So the Rebbe said, we have to think carefully, what is this nakuda? So he said, Avu kashem shaleidas ha'odom. Just like when a mensch is born, he's a tinoik, he's like a small nakuda legabi what he's going to be when he grows up. So the Rebbe said, however, the leader of the mensch is koilel b'soika es kol ma she'odom yigdal achacha. In other words, when you're born, you're not just a little nobody. You are, as it were, you are, but you're koilel in yourself, everything that's going to happen to you later on. And so what happens to you later on is just like a opening up of what was hidden inside the embryo when it comes out of the mother's womb. In other words, you're not just a little dot that's going to have to sort of somehow or another expand. You are a dot which has all this amazing events and information hidden in it, which it's only an expression. And therefore it's brought down in Siddhas, Barichas, that really when you're a tinoik, you really have all the koiches that you have when you're grown up. They've just got to come out and express themselves more. And that's the growth of the body is like a big kli. And the more the kli develops, the more it's able to be an expression medium for everything which is really hidden inside the kli. You are like a kli which carries in itself a huge body of potential in yonim, many of which are spiritual, but many are also kipshutai, physical in this world, everything that's going to happen to you. So he said that's a very unusual and significant nakuda. Yeah? Ki kol mashu hu yaseh magia me'etzem ma'uda shuhu noila. So that ever said it makes positive sense if you just think about it in a spara. Yeah, the very fact that you were born, that's what leads to the fact that you do everything you do in your life. In other words, if you hadn't begun by being born, then nothing would have happened anyway. It's a sign that the being born is what makes possible. And to be more exact, it really involves that all those things are hidden inside the nakuda. So he said, "Kach gam nakuda hazu," the same beneged to the moon, yeah, and ourselves. "Kach gam nakuda hazu koileles es kol ma sheyikra layoreach achacha." Or this dot of the month, yeah. After it's gone through that regga of absolute zero, and it appears, yeah, mechadash, is the same type of nakuda. It's a nakuda klolias, which has in itself all the things which are going to occur to the moon, during that whole 30-day cycle, until it will go back to a state of naught again, and then it'll start all over again. So the truth is that in Kedusha, there's no such thing as just starting all over again. Every Inyan has an additional point to it, and an additional ilui, an elevation, which the previous months didn't have. So that means that all the time, this Nakuda becomes more powerful and more potential, because each month is meant to be a more greater and increase in all the inyonim of what the Yoreach indicates. Dahainu all the inyoni kedusha v'chulu v'chulu. V'lochein hu nikra roish chodesh. So therefore, this nakuda, on the day on which that nakuda appears, or that is called Rosh Chodesh. Ki chidesh ho yoreach hu kamoi rosh. Says the Rebbe, the chidesh of this nakuda coming back into expression again is, like we just said, is a kolelas. It has in itself all these things which are important to the month for the whole 30 days to come. And he said that's the in of a rosh, of a man. That the rosh of a man is koilo b'toiche es achayas shel kol haguf. Your head is like the central controlling and balancing power of the whole body. And therefore in the brain is contained all the chayas of all the body, and not just that, but a certain control as to how they express themselves. Your rosh is also a controlling Balabas. He's not just a general pumping station of Chayas, but he has a decisional power which guides everything. So therefore he's very, very closely. And therefore Rosh Chodesh is the same. The appearance of the moon is a very, very significant dot which has in itself, and as it were, governs everything which is going to come out. But I'm sorry, where are we? So the Rebbe, what is that so specially significant to us as Yidden at any given time, particularly where we hold now? So the Rebbe says, Am Yisrael, Gam Kein Mechadesh es Avidosai. He said, Yidden are mental, and like I pointed out, everything in Kedusha is supposed to have a shinui l'mal yuza, they call it advance. So Yidden also, since they count according to the moon, and the prayer that we say at Kiddush Levana says, V'heim asidim lehishchadesh kamoiso, that when Mashiach comes, they're going to get a whole new chiddush, just like the moon is going to have a tremendous, become like the sun, again, when Mashiach will come. So Yidden are going to be like that. It's a sign that Yidden and the Levana are intimately linked, one with the other. So therefore, when it becomes Rosh Chodesh, Yidden also have to renew their avodah. They have to start off and knowing that they have koya from that nakuda that has everything to feed them and wants to feed them all the advance, which is special according to the particular message of that month. They've got to start all over a whole new chapter in their avodah. He said, Gam hu atzmei, Am Yisrael gam kein mechadesh es avidosai, v'gam hu atzmei mitchadesh, b'chol rosh chodesh. So the Rebbe said, it's not just that you are mechadesh your avodah in what you do in the world, but you're also mechadesh something in yourself. That means that a Yid not only goes up in his avodah, but he goes up in himself also. He gets a Yisron, Mila, from that beginning of Rosh. He himself improves and elevates due to the new appearance of the month. And therefore he says, Gam hu atzmai mitchadesh, b'chol Rosh Chodesh. He said, Rosh Chodesh mizgaleh, b'chol Yehudi, darga gavoya ma'id b'nishmosai. The whole inyan of going up, like he said, and the whole inyan of a new nakuda of this sort, which has, is all the time increasing in its potential. Like Mailim Bakoid, like we see in Benegad Lachanika. Of a Mela, you have powers which you have to reveal on Rosh Chodesh, that you yourself, apart from what you're going to do in the world, or you yourself go up into a whole new madrega of the Gilui of your neshama. He said, Hakarui Yechida. So he said, this whole new revelation of a new power in your Aveda personally comes from the level called Yechida. In other words, it's a very, very elevated state of the neshama, which is beyond the koiches regilim, how do you call it? It's beyond the revealed koiches, and it's from the etzam neshama called Yechida. Or that is the daga, which is poyeles boy esaish chadshas. Or that causes in you a whole new beginning. And so the Rebbe says that this whole alteration in the madrega of a Yid in his own personal avodah comes from, and is a nesinas koya, from the highest point in his neshama, which is Yechida. He said, "V'dargazu poelet b'ayda adli his chadshas shall be as a Moshiach." And the whole reason, ultimately, why we're given a gilui of the inyan of Yechida Shebeneves every Rosh Chodesh in order to develop our whole new Aveda based on that Gilui, because we're working towards Moshiach. So the Rebbe said, what's the connection? It's well known from the Sefer Erinayim of the Reb Nochum Chernobyl that he says that every year it's got a nitzot of Moshiach inside it. And that nitzot comes from the neshama of Moshiach himself, the neshama klolius of Moshiach himself. So he said, just like Moshiach is according to the Arizal, the Yechida of all the elements and the whole Jewish people, he's like the Yechida klolius. So the spark of Moshiach that you have is your Yechida. That's the highest point in your neshama. Yeah? Of Amela, what happens is that you begin a whole new Ischadjas on Rosh Chodesh, and that's got to do with the Ischadjas, Heim Asidim L'Ischadeshka, because it comes from Moshiach. As you can, there's an integral connection between that new energy that you get and working towards Moshiach, because it's all part of the pattern of Moshiach. It all comes from him. And he's the Yechida Claudius of the whole union. Since it's like that, since it's like that, then everybody on Rosh Chodesh not only has a new development within himself. Take a chair, or sit over here. Either bring a chair or sit here. Do we have we have a? Oh. It's a very, how do you call it, inbound connection that the Rebbe is making here. On the one hand, you start all from the new, then we've just made the point that that's a Nakuda Claudius. And Mamela in Kedusha, we have to go up with it. So that means that you get a whole new ability to elevate yourself in a general way in your whole Aveda, every Rosh Chodesh. Where does that come from? Well, that comes from that comes from the Yechida Shebanev. So the Rebbe said, if that comes from then where does it come from? It comes from Moshiach. Because your Yechida is like a spark of the Yechida HaKlodius of Moshiach, which means that the birth of the new moon and everything is indicative of this whole idea of the rebirth of the whole world when Moshiach is going to come. It's all sort of linked together. Therefore, the power brought into your neshama from your Yechida on Rosh Chodesh comes from the Yechida HaKlolius, which is Moshiach, and that gives you a new koyah, not only just to work in general, in a much more elevated way, but to have a whole new chayas in bringing the Gula Shlema. Yeah? And therefore you have to, don't you? Mela says the Rebbe, well, that's the message of Rosh Chodesh. So he says, hakaru yechida v'dagazu poel es bo ischadcha. The adli ischadcha shall be the Moshiach. What's the connection? Like we just pointed out, that it's all from Yechida, and your Yechida is not the stomach, high madrega, it's part of Moshiach. It's all working in the same direction. Every Rosh Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh has that about it. Therefore, the whole renewal of Yidden on Rosh Chodesh is, we say it in the bracha, Shehem Asidim L'Ischadesh Kamoiso. In the Gula Shlema, they're going to be mitchadesh. Just like Moshiach is. So the whole thing is coming from Moshiach in a general way. Of Amela, the Avodah to work towards Moshiach. However, that's been to get to all the Rosh Chodoshim of the whole year. Arayan HaKlolish of Rosh Chodesh, B'oli Dei Bitui B'Mashmois HaProtiyas, Shal Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So the Rebbe said there's a very interesting combination between Rosh Chodesh Kislev and this general message. So you might say, well, wait a minute, Kislev is a specific thing. And what we spoke about is general in Yom. So the Rebbe says, Ein Hanami. There's a specific thing about Kislev which adds a whole new dimension to the general message of all Roshim. It's like how do you call it, a merger between the general message and the individual message. And then what is the real individual message? That we'll deal with even further. But what is the individual message which links with the general message? So he said, Arayan HaKlolish or Rosh Chodesh, Molidei Bitui B'mashmois HaProtiyas Shel Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So the Rebbe said, let's take the name Kislev. It's Murkav Mishtei Milim. Kislev. Yeah? That's if you write it, Kof Samak Lamed Vav. The Rebbe points out in some of the footnotes that you can also write it Kof Samak Lamed Beis. And that, in effect, is dealt with in other seekers a bit further along. But right now, we're taking the spelling as Kof Samak Lamed Vav. So the Rebbe said that's two words, Keis Lamed Vav. So he says, Keis Mesamal Esa Kisui Shela Yura. Like we said, right at the end of its whole cycle, the Yoreh goes back to nothing. And there's a minute where it's absolute nothing, like we pointed out. That's called like Kisui. That's like a covering of the whole effect of and the whole action of the moon is covered. He said, V'lamed Vov, Mesamar es ha'gilui shemagia miyad achar. And Lamed Vov, Lamed Vov is 6 times 6. Yeah, and 6 is the number of the midas of Atzilas, the 6 main midas. Malchus is also a midah, but it's a midah which is more shy to Ashpoah. It's not a real midah in that sense. If 6 times 6 is 36. So that means 6 times 6 is double of the normal number of the midas, which means that the midas are all in their full revelation. They're doubling their power. So the Rebbe says, Kumtois, that normally speaking, on any month, you go from a state of a case immediately into the beginning of the new month. And how does that work? Because it works like this. It's brought down, but to get to Rosh Hashanah, we say, Bakesa Liyoim Chagenu. And that word keser can be written with a hey at the end, or it can be written with a aleph at the end. And normally, in Chassidus, we bring it as how it is written with the aleph at the end, case aleph. So case aleph means a case, a covering, followed by aleph. And that's on Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah gives into all the months as a one-on, everything derives square from Rosh Hashanah. Every month has about a passage from Kais into Aleph. In other words, Kais is a covering, Aleph is a new beginning. So you have in the same word, you have Kais, the finishing of the Levana into nothing, then the beginning of its whole new, say, Aleph. That's a inverted commas, normal one. But by Kislev, you have a case, but then you have Lamed Vov after, not Aleph. So the Rebbe said Lamed Vov is not just the beginning of Gilui, but Lamed Vov is the fullest of all the Giluim that you can get. Lamed Vov is 6 times 6. It's the midas doubled up in their full revelation. Evamela, the whole of Chodesh Kislev, you are holding by the whole Gilui that comes after the cake. Normally it has to go at a much... in Kislev you jump, as it were, from the covering into immediately very, very powerful Gilui. And that's what he means, that in the general makeup of a month, Kislev has got a very special message. Yeah. So he says, Kislev, Mocha Mikesh Lamadbo, Case Masama Sakiso Shali Araya, Veloy Masama Zagilo Shamigia Miadakaka. The office of Uda Shamoila Dayoreya, Koila Skola Protim Shabo Achacha, and also that carries in it all the details which are going to come out later. He said, but look, ain't Shashas Amida Sheba Odom, which are Chesed Gura Teferes, Neta Hoyd you say, Kofu Shai should be Gemachi Lamed Lo. Aber Mela Be'im Kain, Kislo, Kosher B'meyuchad Legiula. Why is it Kosher B'meyuchad Legiula? Because what you have is, you start off with a covering, what that's the goddess, but then you can immediately go into a oilam al malui nivra, a complete another new world with the whole Gila that's going to be at the time of the Gila. Yeah, therefore, in a general way, despite the Yom Tov and everything, Kislev is called Chodesh HaGeula, because straight from the beginning in the Nakuda and the case, yeah, you jump straight into the highest Giloi that's going to happen. So therefore he says, Mekivan Sheboi Mudya Shachidash Shalom Yisrael B'Geula Shemarumaz B'Kol Rosh Chodesh. Ein Nachami Kol Rosh Chodoshim. They indicate a bit and they show, yeah, to do with the Indian Geula of a Rosh Chodesh Kislev, due to the special aspect of it, which is in Lamed Vav Shalom. At the end of Lamed Vav after the case, or that's in what occurs in every Rosh, a much greater message, and that from the case you jump straight into the absolute revelation, which is possible. In other words, you move not in a gradual way, but you leave the case behind and you're immediately in the fullest possible Gilui. And that's what makes it Chodesh HaGeula, makes it a very special type of Geula. Yeah, Mikun Shaboy Mudgach, Ashidash, Shalom Yisrael Begeula, Shemarumas B'Kol Rosh Chodesh. It's just that in Rosh Chodesh Gula, this is a much greater emphasis in Chodesh Kislev. Evamela Nimsa, that in the name of Chodesh Kislev, like he pointed out before, from the name of the Chodesh, you can already learn what's going on. We're holding near the bottom of the first page. Avamela, that's what makes Chodesh Kislev into Chodesh HaGeula. Avamela, we can already sort of get a certain Musa, a Haskell, that Kislev, in its very essence, as a general month, is very special. It's both general and specific in the same generality. And that comes to teach us that there's no, how do you call it, sitting on the sofa during Chodesh Kislev. Because immediately you go out of that Nakuda, you're already in the fullest Gilui of everything. You've already got, as it were, the whole Milah Halavana and everything. You've already got it straight away. Normally you have to work towards it. Over here you've got it, well, that's 6 times 6 is 36. That's why we write the month, according to many opinions, Kislev with a Lamed Vav and not a Lamed Beis. But in another place, the Rebbe will explain to us how it can also be written Kislev. No. Lama Rachas Choler said the Rebbe, however, Adain Loi Movan. There's still a very big question which occurs to the mind of the analytical student.
What is it?
Yeah. So he says, Adain Loi Movan, Madua Davke Moiled Halavona, Kosher Legiula, Umoire Al Hagiula. Look, everything we've said here, the Moiled Halavona, well, that's the beginning of the Geula, and that's the koyah to reach the Geula, from the Moiled, from the moment it is born. That gives you all the koyahs, and in Kislev, you have much greater koyahs and everything. So the Rebbe said, if we examine, once the moon has reached its full peak, then we find it has a very powerful light, and Shlomo HaMelech and his malchus, which are the shleimas of David HaMelech, are compared to Kaima Sihara Ba'ashlimuza. The moon is given its perfection at the time of Binyan Beis HaMikdash. The Zohar Kodesh brings it down. Im Kain, all the greatness of the Levana, which is David HaMelech, is also connected with the Levana. All of that greatness is expressed at its peak in the Milui HaLevana, the fullness of the Levana on Tesvav B'Chodesh. And the Tesvav B'Chodesh, or that's Kaima Sihara B'Ashlimut in its perfection, and that's the whole ultimate expression of Binyan Beis HaMikdash and Shlomo HaMelech, what Moshiach has to come from Shlomo HaMelech. As he's of the Rambam, the Rambam brings it down in Perek HaChelik in Sanhedrin, that he says Moshiach has to be born not only from Mishpachas David, but Shlomo. He has to be born Gam Midovid Umi in Shlomo, because David had many sons, or several. He has to be born from David, but only from Shlomo. Over Melech said the Rebbe Kumtais said Milu Halabona is a very powerful thing. And that indicates the ultimate Geula, the Beis HaMikdash Shlishi. Yidochim Kain, why do we say that the Ikar Geula is in Davki in the Moilad Halavona, Davki at the moment that the Lavona is born, and we're saying that Nakuda, that's the whole thing, and the case immediately follows into the development and everything, that's the Ikar. L'chora, we should be saying that that's a beginning, a very good beginning, but it's only a beginning. But the Milui Halavona, that's the point which would be appropriate to say that's the source of Moshiach, not the Moila, not the birth. And that's what he says now. Kosher Legula Moila, V'lo yizman she'yareach b'shlei Musay. Chachmein azol omrim she'shlei Musam shel b'nei Yisrael b'zman Shlomo HaMelech oyase k'moi shleimas haLevana. Kaima Sihara b'shlei Musa. The moon is at its perfection. Or the Zohar says that about Shlomo HaMelech. Kishem she'yareach mageya l'shleimas liyachar 15 yom, kach gam b'nei Yisrael Omru 15 doros. It's a very interesting fact that from the moment Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael until Shlomo finished building the Beis HaMikdash was 15 doros. Just like the month has to go through 15 days, so there were 15 doros till he finished the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. That all indicates that we're moving through the generality of month of birth into a big full expression. And that was Hechel Metkufas of Rama Avinu. So the Rebbe says not just from when the Yidden came into Eretz, but it begins from Avraham Avinu. The 15 generations are really from Avraham Avinu. Hechel Metkufas of Rama Avinu, V'ad Shlomo HaMelech is 15. V'oz Amy Giul Shleimusam, and then Yidden and all their inyonim under Shlomo HaMelech, including the Beis HaMikdash, all reached their perfection. Ubishchashiv bo'uvda shebizman hagula yeh matzovam shlam Yisrael od yoter mushlam. He said, and taking into account the fact that when the Geula comes, the matzav of it is going to be even better than that, even better than it was after the 15 dollars. At the time of Shlomo HaMelech, it's going to be even higher than that. Muvan shematim yoysa lahashveiz es hagula lamatzav shayoreyahu b'shleimas. L'chora, we should compare the whole Geula to the 15th day of the month, not to the Moilad Halavona. And from everything we've seen, we compared, and the whole power of the Geula stuff at the moment of the Moilad. Not on the 15th day. On the 15th day, we also say it's a very big day. And we see the Pesach and Sukkot, they occur on the day of the 15th. But that's the middle of Halavona. It's a very big union. So why don't we say that that indicates the whole of the Geula? We say, no, Davki, the birth of the moon, that's the whole koich of the Geula. Yeah, Davki, the birth. He said, V'loi lezman sheboi rat maschilim liroisas hayoreya. When it's born, it's only an akuda. So the mila of an akuda, like I'll be the ultimate slamus on the 15th, you'll hear a mila shelo be'ereh. That's loy berachaya. As he came, why do we emphasize and why do we go only according to the birth? Yeah, Odaman. Kushya zu, says the Rebbe, or this particular Akasha, Moevilo Eishana Lamaskona, well, that brings us to a conclusion, or the etzim question opens to us a conclusion. Shebavata yesh maila yasera miyuhad lizman sheboya hayareya noile. We're not trying to say there's no maila in when the yareya has been. That's bavadai. Yeah, al pnei azman sheboya hayareya magila shleimosa. However, he said the fact that, that we are such a kasha, well, that indicates to us that why is it like that? Which means that ultimately it is like that. That the birth of the moon is higher and better and more sharp to the Gula than it is on the 15th. So he says, that's what the Etzim Kasha indicates. Oh, my lazu titgaleh gam b'vnei Yisrael b'Gula Islam. And since Yidna compared to the moon, well, that Mila is going to be revealed in the Yidden themselves, not only just in the world, yeah, and in the whole aspect of how Mashiach will affect the world, but in the actual Madrega of Yidden, V'lochein, yeah, Medamim Mesagula, Davkil Izman Leida Sayareya. Well, that's what we see from the whole thing. Oh, but what is the view of us there? We didn't say yet. We just see that that's in effect the case. So the question is, why is it like that? So here the Rebbe goes on now with an amazing bio, the mila of a cotton, how do you call it, a small child when it's first born, when it first comes out of the womb, or when it's a tinoik, yeah, compared to a grown-up person. And so the Rebbe says that we find, and the Rebbe that some tzaddik brings it down in Derem Mitzvah, that there was one of the great Mekubalim by the Rishonim. He was called the Rabbein Shimshon Linvil or something like that. Yeah. And he was a great Makubal, apart from being great in Nigla the Torah. And they once asked him, you know, what kavanas does he do with all the spheres when he davens? He writes so much about them that he must have a whole series of kavanas when he davens. And he, amazingly enough, he answered, and the reverse brings it down in the Chuvas reverse, that he answered the question by saying, Kshani matchili hispalel, he said, Ladat zeh hatinoik ani mispalel. He said, when I start to daven, I daven like a small child. I go back to be like a small child. So the Rebbe said, you know, here you got this guy that he was a Makubal Gadol, and he knew everything about all the spirits and the Mailaman spirit. But the whole thing, why didn't he have a whole plan? Why did he daven like a teenage? So the Rebbe said, because there's an unbelievable Maila in a teenage, even compared to somebody who's tremendously versed and learned, even in Pnimis HaTorah, but there's a Maila in a Tinoi, like over him. In other words, there's a Maila in a newborn infant, yeah, like the biggest Chochem, yeah, of Israel. He said, L'shan Kach, in order to understand why I go Davka according to the Leida and not the Chamesha Shel Chodesh, yeah, Aleinu L'tzayin, Sheyeshna Maila betinoi, Besmigas Laman Leidosei, Legabi Matzove Kagodeo. The way a child is, it's got a Maila Yeseder, and compared to the way he'll be when he grows up. So the Rebbe said, Yehudi Mavuga, somebody who's already a grown person, and he's learned, and he's knowledgeable, shemispalel, yodea sheyeshnam dargis mesiyomas etzel haboirei. He's learned that Hashem has got, according to the Spirit, he has all sorts of, how do you call it, midlays or milas to Hashem. For example, the Nevi'im call Hashem Chocham. In other places, he's called Gibber. In other places, he's called HaMelech HaToiv and all sorts of expressions. He said, "Va'afilo ch'shakoshav al kach sh'HaKadosh Baruch Hu gavoya mikol ha'Torah meila." Afilo, he will say to himself, I know all of these levels and I know what spheres they represent, but I'm going to go beyond all these things and I'm going to think about Hashem, how he is higher than all these things. Yeah, what does he do? In order to do that, he has to, as it were, negate all these things and jump up, beyond them. He said, so he said he's already thinking about Hashem, how he is higher than all these terms. Adayin hu margish sha'iloi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu shehu gavoya mikol ha'tayrim. He sees the greatness of Hashem, that he's greater than all the descriptive names and spheres that he knows. You follow? So he's saying, Hashem is higher than these. But these things, as it were, are present in his consciousness because he's negating them. You follow? They're not something that has no effect on him. He is, as it were, going higher than them. However, a Tinoi, just because a Tinoi doesn't know anything about these inyanim. Yeah? He doesn't know anything about spheres and about different Torah of Hashem. When he says Hashem, or in Yiddish, the expression, Der Eibishter, a small child, what does he mean? He means the Atzmas of the Eibishter without any Torah or without any thought or reference to the Torah Beklal. No, therefore, if I negate something in order to get to an incomparably higher level, I don't reach the ultimate shlemus of that higher level, but I reach how it is muvdal from what I've been busy with. But if I don't know all about those things, and I'm just a simple guy, then I go straight to the essence of Hashem's being. I don't go through other media, but I go straight, the old expression, I have to do with the real McCoy. I go straight to his essence without going through something else. So he said, had this great Makubal said he's going to daven in a way that he goes higher than all of what he knows, then he wouldn't reach the full perfection of his kesher with the Atman. Of Ali what he says, I daven like a tinai, then he gets straight to the Atman. Liuma is this, Yeled shemishpalel, Uveina yodea mi klum. He doesn't know anything. Umispalel l'kodesh Baruch Hu atzmei she'olav lo shayak lo matoyanim. He doesn't know what they are anyway. Vafilu lo shehinoi l'mayla me'atayim. He doesn't know that he's beyond all these Torah. He doesn't know about the Torah v'lechatchila. V'loheinu koira l'kodesh Baruch Hu Hashem. And the Rebbe talks about it in Yiddish. Hashem is the Eibishter. And the word Eibishter in Yiddish means wherever you are, there's something higher. In other words, the Eibishter means that on whatever level you will reach, Hashem is already incomparably bigger than that. So your feeling about the Eibishter has got to do with the level that you're jumping from. If you're jumping from a certain level to him, then you're limited slightly. But if you don't know anything about the level, then you just go straight to him. Yeah, that's why the Rebbeinu Shimshon Melinwa, that's why he said that he's going to daven only like a tineg. He wants to go straight, Hashem, the Rebbeinu. ההבדל הזה מתבטא גם בהשקשה של האדם עם הקדוש ברוך הוא. Not only do you reach that, but you become more involved in the simplicity that way. So the Rebbe says, for example, the grown-up person, I mean, he knows that he's higher than all the names and the spheres. He's got to get out of himself, to reach Hashem. Mela says the Rebbe, his Mesiras Nefesh is more connected with his material. He's got to get out of his material. And therefore it's well known, and Lubavitch, the famous, the Chassidim used to say, that Tafki the Pasha, that's the Baal Shem Tov also, that Tafki the Pasha to Yidden, their Mesiras Nefesh is higher than the Mesiras Nefesh of a big Chacham. Because a big Chacham, he also has Mesiras, but he's got to get out of all the Chokhmah and all the other inyanim, and they say, why is it to be Moshe Nefesh? And so therefore he's got to get out of all those inyanim, and then he reaches Mesiras Nefesh, which means that the Mesiras Nefesh is touched with a certain limitation to it. Over the simple tinnik who doesn't know, he just gives himself away to Hashem, and he doesn't know of any concern. And that's what in Lubavitch they used to say, that a portion of Yid's Mesiras Nefesh is much greater than that of a learned person. Imamela, Lim Tzovelatzeis Meyatme Vatinoi Liumazoi. How does the kind to say, how does the song have it? Hashem is everywhere. How does it go? Yeah. North, south, east, west, or something. Hashem is everywhere. And Tinnik, he doesn't know where he knows only Hashem is everywhere and everything. Ochen Choder B'Kol Matziyusay. The Eibishter penetrates his whole Matziyus. He doesn't know anything else. There's only him and the Eibishter. And if he gives himself over to the Eibishter, then the Eibishter penetrates his whole being. It's easier to tell a child to be holy when he eats than it is a grown-up person. A grown-up person got all sorts of taivas. He prefers this and he doesn't like this and all. A child, you just tell him, go ahead and eat, he will eat. And you say, he'll say, why do I have to eat? Because, you have to be strong for Hashem. Oh, he will eat, with great enthusiasm, because he and Hashem had one firm together, Over says the Rebbe, b'milim acheres, המבוגר משקשר עם הקודש ברוך הוא על ידי התכונות הקיימות בו. He makes connection with the Eibishter according to certain characteristics which he has in his being. And he can't really rid himself 100% of them. Whatever his wisdom and his midas are, but when he goes up higher and beyond that, and he comes to the Koyach and he wants to give that away to Hashem, Dagas HaYachida, Zewadayan Rak Madrega Mesiyemas, Sheberatzoinoi Lotzei. Even though he's holding by a Yechida and he wants to give away all his tainug to a Kodesh Baruch, he sort of had it because it's difficult for him to give everything away because he has tainug even in good things, but he's sort of bound up to that. He can't just give away his whole koyach tainug. There was limited. ליום הזה סתינק מסקשר עם הקודש ברוך הוא על ידי עצם מאודו שיש לו נשמה. אבל he gives away his whole neshama, all the koikas and all the retainas and all the other, don't get in the way by him. There's nothing there to hide the whole thing. שזה נעלה מכל הדרגות והתכונה של הנשמה. אבל said the Rebbe, that's the Mila, the Halavona, compared to how to call it, the 15th of the month. The 15th of the month is what we call Giluim. You know what Giluim means? It's high things, very, very high. Oh, but it's nonetheless things which are revealed from Hashem, not his mamish, his essence. And even though Shlomo was a great chacham, but he had the power to go beyond his chacham, oh, but he's like the great wise man that goes up, he's still within the circumference of his own wisdom and his own tremendous knowledge. And therefore it's hard for him to have absolute Mesiras. Yeah, that's like the 15th of the month. Over the beginning of the month is like the Tinner again. The Tinner, he just complete. Isn't it an amazing example? The way the Rebbe reaches this whole concept from the statement of the Rabbeinu Shimshon. An amazing thing, what he said, and the Rebbe brings it in several places in the Torah of the Rebbe, that the whole in of davening, the perfection of davening is the whole Torah in the Rebbe about it. In other words, that you, according to the Rebbe, the ultimate perfection of davening is after you've learned everything, to return, but with a completion. And he said that was the greatness of the Rabbeinu Shimshon, that he appeared to be able to do that in a maximum extent. But nonetheless, even with that maximum that he would reach, the mamish has got a mile. The tinnik mamish has a mile. Therefore, the beginning of the whole revelation is bigger than the whole revelation. Yeah, because that is the, as it were, the Nakuda Atzmias, which is koilal everything, just like that in there. So now we're going to reach a very famous point here. But the Rebbe said that every day you have also a moiled halavona. After you've slept, you wake up in the morning. Said the Rebbe, whether you want it or not, you're like a person that's born mechadas. Your whole matzias during your sleep, it wasn't a conscious matzias b'klal. You weren't really. And like I started to say, that sleep is like 1/60th of death. You know, you're not really around. But as soon as you wake up in the morning, your whole matzias becomes new. It's a whole new fact that you are there. And then afterwards, you gradually begin to build your Avodas Hashem. You begin to understand a bit, and then you make brachas, and then you put on tefillin and talis, and then you start davening, and then gradually you move up to the middle halavana, like you reach the, your high point, and you give yourself away in Shemoneh Esrei to the Eibush. That's all great. Over that moment that you were born, that moment that you appeared, or that is like the whole appearance of your very Esther Messiah. The Rebbe said that's even higher than Moed Ani. Moed Ani is already the expression of Yom. You're already saying something. So Ein Hanami, Moed is a very high power because it's Hoidua, and Hoidua means like giving yourself away. Over the very moment that you appeared is in a way higher and more Atzmias, even the Moedani. So the Rebbe is going to say that the moment, even before you say Moedani, you all of a sudden appear with all your essence. And if you chaperon at that moment with the right thoughts and the right attitude, even before you say Moedani, then you build your whole day and you build your whole Matthias in a general way that's beyond limitations, like Amri. So what does the Rebbe say? Oh, you guys are batlanim. He says, at the moment you wake up, even before you say Moed Ani, you've got to huck yourself into the Gula Shlema. L'chaim. At the very moment you wake up, oh, you just came in at the right moment. You're a batlan for coming in late, but you just came in at the right moment. So you're not as big a batlan as you might seem. We're saying that when you wake up in the morning, gesund reit, come on. You wake up in the morning, even before you say Moed Ani, your whole Matthias has reappeared from nothing, just like the moon when it's born first off. The very moment of that Nakuda Klolis Va'atzmias, when you're born, that is like the Chidush of your whole Matthias in the world, and that's higher than Yechida. That's even higher than, because Yechida is a name, Chamisha Shemai, Nikrola, one of them is Yechida, a Shemai. It will be very high, but it's a shame. Oh, but that's higher than Shemai, that's your very essence. So at that moment, you got to think about Moshiach. At that moment, even before you say, Moedani. And therefore, you should realize that you must not laugh at anything, chas v'sholem. And therefore, the Meshachistim, the real hotline Meshachistim, they say that the first thing you have to do, as soon as you wake up, they say, that you got to be Mekabel Mashiach first thing, even before Moedani. And here's the raya that they bring, that the Rebbe says, before Moedani, you have to already hack yourself into Mashiach. So how do you hack yourself into Mashiach? The Mekabel, and that's what the Rebbe says. The whole of Veda is Lekabel for Mashiach. So I don't know, if everybody holds by that, but upon him, at least we can understand that. And you can't say they don't have anything to base themselves on. Because they have a very strong life on that side. So it came in at a very good moment. Yeah. That's what the Rebbe says. And he says, Moida is a very great state. Moida is Hoidoa. And he said, Moida has got a certain gematria, and that's connected with that. The Rebbe makes Moida very, very powerful. Nonetheless, he said, the moment that you actually wake up and you appear again after like you've been covered, and you reappear, just like the moon, that's the beginning. And depending on what you think then, that governs your whole Matthias the whole day. Yeah. And what you're going to achieve in your whole life can be governed by that. That's what he said later. And that's a Gilui of the Etama Nishoma. And that's what's written by Moshiach, Matzosi David Avdi. And the Rebbe said a Matzia is a very high madrega. You're walking along, you don't have anything, all of a sudden, you find something. Yeah, and that Matzia is like something that's come from nowhere, Yeah? And that's like a whole new thing is born in your life. That's what a Matzia is. Matzosi, Hashem says about Moshiach, Matzosi David Avdi. I found him. It's the Indian of the essence of the Maila Mikola Gilui. Right, so I say everybody's very calm about it, but that's the Matzia of a Maila. Therefore the Rebbe said, Koil Yamei Chayecha, Lahovi Yamei Mashiach, that the Rabbanan say, Koil Yamei Chayecha, and the Rebbe said, the Frierdiker Rebbe said, that means that all the days of your life are only Lahovi Yamei Mashiach. So the Rebbe said, all the days of your life doesn't only mean every day, but it means all the day of every day. You guys are better. All the day of every day.
24/7.
I'm not saying it, that's what the Rebbe said. No. So there we are, guys. And just we're tonight's Rosh Chodesh, we're just going to say L'chaim. So we got the mashke.
What? Is he still on camera?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
This is my friend the Curry. He's a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand.
Zealand? Oh, wow. I was from Melbourne, Australia.
Geyer.
Um,
He's working on it.
It's interesting. I didn't live all that far from New Zealand, so I never went there. Up until I was about 24. I was the representative. That's the old thing. After I've been here, I was
Yeah, I can see why. Well equipped. I can see why. Yeah.
Nice for opening packages.
Just give him a l'chaim. I think he might be anxious to go, but I don't want him to go without a l'chaim.
He's not going.
For his wine.
He's all right. He'll get his.
Not gonna drink it, tell him.
Oh, this fellow.
Have more cups?
Yeah, I've got some l'chaim.
L'chaim.
Fine.
Ah, you have his cup.
Take care of those, somebody please pass it.
You're welcome.
Just gonna help yourself.
Dan niet cups.
There's a cup here for,
1 second.
Benji, what happened to your cake, man?
I don't know.
What?
Benji bought a cake. Yehuda, what happened to Benji's cake?
It's coming. Not a very auspicious cake, but there's some wine for.
Have a cup. Wine.
L'chaim.
You have to know what happened to Benji's cake. If I knew you were coming, I would have baked a cake.
Everything was bought at the coal up here, with Landau and Hire.
But you don't give it that way, you open it.
Well, I don't have 8 arms. What do I have?
If you don't.
Benji, do it yourself on here, man.
I do. I only have so many hands.
Another kiss or
Do you mind if I ask? We do. It's a silly question, but why did you convert to Judaism? Why did you convert to Judaism?
That's
One step. That's good. I don't know why.
there's a level called Shtus, the Kedusha. And there's a Apostle, which one of the Nevi'im.
What, this is a motzi? It's a motzi? So make a motzi.
It's only water. It's given from water.
Look it, I bought it, I schlepped it, don't quit complaining. What? Yes, please.
That's what it's called in the civic language, Shtus the Kedusha. It's like the beyond reasoning, which really links to the
Well, you're making a meal out of that cake. What have you killed it?
Eat. Nice big chunks of
doing a
cake.
wonderful job here with
No knife. Would you like a piece of cake, sir?
No, thank you very much, sir.
I'd like a little bit the Benji butter first.
I don't know, Rabbi Coomer says it could be a motzi.
I think it's a moitzi.
It's a mostly?
Doesn't look like a motzi, but.
No, it's like a little matzah. It's a little matzah. A little matzah.
Well, not so,
The Sephardi make Mizonis on it. The Shashkins
Your other package you make is
I'm Sephardi, but I have Chabad Tsfat.
Sephardi's make
So we should go after that?
Somebody open those for me, please. And that's it.
You wash it, no problem.
Time behind.
That's the best thing. Somebody wants some crackers and all.
We have a gathering with
Hardly look.
gathering of spiritual gathering.
It's a good cake.
Why are we doing
Benji butter.
Why are we
I
concentrating?
say it's Benji's cake.
Because you have an evil inclination that says, I don't want you to pay attention to this. Evil inclination says, okay, you got your TV, drink something. Minds are throwing us. There's just a lot so we can concentrate on real things, which is not this. It's we're learning from each other.
If everybody has a moment, being as it is, Mamish Rosh Chodesh Kislev, we're right in it. We're right in the middle of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. I had the great privilege at the time. It was tremendously overwhelming, so it was hard to imagine what sort of privilege it was, but I was there during the actual moment that the Rebbe had a day in Lamed Ches. I was there, and I was there during all the subsequent days, until about Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. And shortly after, I had to leave. I had to get back to Eretz Yisrael. And the Rebbe actually came out after the whole treatment, and he went back home on Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That's the great one. But the actual drama began with the heart attack on the night of Shmini Atzeres, the first night, because in Chutz La'aretz you have Shmini Atzeres and similar stuff. So it was absolutely mind-boggling because the Rebbe kept a tremendously tight schedule. It just it came up EFSHA to be massive. But the Rebbe on Shmini Atzeres gave out lekach, he gave out cake to all those people who didn't get on Erev Yom Kippur. So that's a lot of people who didn't manage to be in 770 on Erev Yom Kippur, but by the time it got to Simchat Torah, they managed to be, by Shana Rabbah, they were already in 770. And particularly the women folk, because on Erev Yom Kippur, only a small percentage of the ladies got. It was mostly the men. So there was a huge tour of women to get lekach on Shmini Atzeres. So the Rebbe stood for hours giving out lekach, and then when he finished, he only had a few counted minutes before Yom Tov came in. And the Rebbe went into the office, and he was in the office for a very short while, and then he came out and came downstairs to the Yaakov and began the whole amazing saga of Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. And during the Hakofas, that's on the time of the fourth Hakofa, that's when the Rebbe got that's when he got the heart attack. But I just want to tell you an amazing little thing that happened on Erev. In those few minutes that the Rebbe came into his office and got himself organized to come down to 700 for the whole Shmini Atzeres, Simchat Torah, I had told me that I still have a kesher with him in New York, and he had learned in the yeshiva, but he went over to, because he was from somewhere in Brooklyn, and he was living in Crown Heights at that time, and he needed a shidduch, he needed a zibur. And he had met somebody, and he wasn't sure whether he should decide and make this final or not. He had all sorts of good reasons, but he was sort of in doubt. And so I remember that on that afternoon, I was with him in a car, and we drove around several streets in Crown Heights talking about the pros and cons of his situation. I remember the whole thing very well. So in the end, we said that we must write a brief letter to the Rebbe. So that's what we did. We wrote this brief letter to the Rebbe with his name and his mother's name and describing the whole situation. And we come into the office, and there was nobody there. And all of a sudden, Benjamin Klein came running in. He apparently had forgotten something or a place. He came in to get it, and we met him, and we said, this is a letter for the Rebbe. So he said he doesn't know when the Rebbe is going to be able to see this letter, but he'll do his best, he'll present it to the Rebbe. So what he did was, he left that letter together with a couple of other papers on the Rebbe's table. So when the Rebbe came in from the lekach, he was standing hours by the lekach, he had to get himself ready for Yom Tov, and the Rebbe came running into the office, and he saw this pattern on top of these papers. And the Rebbe picked up, this is what Benjamin Klein said, the Rebbe picked up the paper and looked at it, and the Rebbe immediately took out his pen and Chasson wrote very swiftly on the letter that he should go ahead and it should be short term with Tzachas. Yeah. That's how he became a Yukiman. That's how he set up his whole ground. Yeah. And that was in those last couple of minutes before the river went out to before the river went down to, so the actual heart attack, like I said, occurred about the time of the fourth Hakofen. And it was terrible. I'm not going to go into all sorts of details, but all of a sudden the river turned absolutely white, the color of that shirt, absolutely. Just, terrible. All of a sudden you could see the river pause, and he just went absolutely white. And all of a sudden the river put his hands back like that. He was trying to find his chair, Well, he was standing here, and his tender and his chair were sort of by makom, And so all of a sudden the river went like that, where's his chair? So Label Corner ran like a madman and pushed the chair over, and the river fell very heavily into the chair. And when that happened, everybody just went crazy because they could see that something was wrong. The river collapsed into the chair. So all of a sudden, Label Corner gets up and he says, everybody must leave the whole 770 because the river needs air. Something's wrong, and the river needs air. So all the thousands of people that were in 770, in the space of a few minutes, left and got outside. And that is part of the nizim that happened, that nobody was damaged. It was such an unbelievable pandemonium that people wanted to get out. And yet there's thousands of them. There's only a couple of, albeit big doors, but there was thousands of people trying to get through these doors. All sorts of unpleasant things could have happened, but Baruch Hashem, nobody was injured or damaged, and everybody got out into the street. So what happened was that the Rebbe took the siddur that he had, and he went down the stairs from his platform, and he walked around the whole Bima section.
After he
collapsed? The Rebbe walked around another 3 times.
After he
said
collapsed?
The Hakofas, he said the words of the Hakofas to finish off the Hakofas. This unbelievable presence of mind. And the doctors later said that they don't know how he did that. How could he? And not only that, when the Rebbe finished, he started going up the stairs. And the Rebbe walked up quite a lot of the stairs before Label Corner and the others came running out. And they tried to help the Rebbe, but the Rebbe said that he's okay, he can walk himself. So later, the doctors that were in charge, they said they didn't know how the Rebbe was able to do that. Anyway, whatever, ultimately the Rebbe comes up, and he walked into the passage, and he walked out the door, and here's all these thousands of people, and they all of a sudden see the Rebbe in the doorway. So that was a tremendous relief to see the Rebbe. But in the meantime, we got all these ambulance people, and they're packing in through the doorway with makshirim and with all sorts of oxygen, gas balloons and all sorts of mice packing into something. And the Rebbe he just managed to avoid this whole insert, and the Rebbe got into the sukkah. And then the doctor said that you have to take all sorts of first aid tablets, and we've got to see what's happening with you. So the Rebbe said he will not taste anything until he's made kiddush. It's Yontif, and he has to make kiddush. So they all said, we're sorry, Rebbe, are you normal? We've got to get moving. So the Rebbe said, I'm terribly sorry, but I will not take anything till I make kiddush. In the meantime, the Rebbe said, where's the Rebbetzin? He was going to make kiddush. He wants to wait till the Rebbetzin. So in the meantime, they had through all the crowd and everything, they brought the Rebbetzin from the library, That's where she lived on Yom Tov. She lived inside this room that the Rebbe had in the library, and they brought her up through like a side entrance into 770, but by the time she got into 770, there was all this packed, all these guys with ambulance attendants and mice, it was all packed, and they had to sort of bring it. So that was the only time. I went to the Rebbe on many occasions, and I was by the Rebbe whole Chodesh Tishrei on many different occasions, and I never saw the Rebbe once. I never set eyes on him. And this was the first and only time I ever saw the Rebbe. Because you could see from where we were standing, and the doorway was quite clear. You could see the doorway, and she came through the doorway, and they were assisting her. They were like holding her so that she would be able to get through everything and make her way into the sukkah. And for the first time, I saw the Rebbe's countenance. And that's the only time I ever saw her. Yeah. And she had big eyes, just like the Frierdiker Rebbe. It was mamish a pachad, just to see her. She was mamish a print of the eyes and the look of the Frierdiker Rebbe. I was just dumbfounded. Guys alongside me said, "Did you see the Rebbe?" And everybody was just, thunderstruck, because she looked on the one hand very upset and frightened, but she looked very regal, She looked very sort of queen-like. It was amazing. They took her in. As soon as the Rebbe saw her, you know what the Rebbe said? He said to her in Yiddish, he said, "Leb nicht lieber, ich bin gestanden zu viel bei der Lechach und ich habe mich übergestrengt." The Rebbe said, "Don't get anxious. Leb nicht lieber." In Yiddish, said, "Don't be worried or don't be anxious." Because I stood a bit too long by the Lechach, and I got a bit overstrained. That's what the Rebbe said. But he was really suffering from a heart attack. But he said to her that I'm just a bit... the Rebbe said, "Come on, we're making kiddush." He said to the Rebbe, "Let's come and we'll make kiddush." So in the meantime, a guy had gone and he bought a big bottle of Metzanavim. Because the doctor said that the only thing the Rebbe can drink, possibly, is Metzanavim. Yes. So the Rebbe looks at this Metzanavim, and all of a sudden the Rebbe said, "Grape juice?" The Rebbe said in English, "Grape juice." The Rebbe said, "Wir machen nicht kein Kiddush of grape juice. You don't make Kiddush of grape juice, only wine." So I said, "But Rebbe, you can't drink wine." The Rebbe said, "I'm feeling a bit better. Why can't I drink wine?" Yes. They had no breda. They had to bring in the lightest wine they could dig up somewhere. They brought it in, and the Rebbe made kiddush for the Rebbe on wine. Yeah, he actually drank a part of a rabias of wine, and then he started taking the tablets. Then the Rebbe cooperated. He took the tablets, and he said that he wants to go to his room and be alone a short while. He wants to be alone. Yeah. And so they didn't want to interfere, because they thought it was okay, So they let the Rebbe go, even without the Rebbe. She didn't go with him. He said he wants to be alone. And later, the Rebbe said to somebody privately that he wanted to be with Zion Rebbe. He said, everybody comes to him. He said, "Erul gen, who is Zion Rebbe?" He wants to go to his Rebbe. Yeah. So he went into the room, and while the Rebbe was in the room, that's when he got the main heart attack. There was a big reoccurrence of the heart attack, much more than what it had been downstairs. And the Rebbe realized that, and he massaged him, massive, that his skin went all red, that he massaged himself so powerfully. And he got out into the hall and he called for help. The Rebbe actually called for help. Yeah, and then they turned the whole of the Rebbe's office into a hospital ward. And they bought all the things, everything. And so one of the doctors, he said to the Rebbe that you have to go to hospital. So the Rebbe said, in kein hospital geht nicht. They said, well, where are we going to treat you? The Rebbe said, what's wrong with my office? This will be the ward, So they said, well, we're going to have to bring all the makshirim and all the medicines and everything here. In the hospital, it's all laid on. The Rebbe said, so bring it here. We'll bring it here. So the Rebbe made it clear. So they were not happy with this. And that's why one of the leading doctors with the Rebbe, they didn't have a good, because he didn't understand the Rebbe's way of doing things. And he got a bit on his horse, He said, I'm sorry, if I can't have hospitable conditions, then I don't want to continue. So they heard about this Dr. Weiss in Chicago. So they called him up on the phone, even though it was yonder, they called him up on the phone and everything. And he agreed to come first thing in the early morning. He would already be there. And he came in a helicopter. They put him in a helicopter from Chicago. And that helicopter, we saw it. We were standing in the early morning outside 770. And the helicopter swiveled all over the place. It wanted a place to go down in Crown Heights, not far from 770. And eventually they found a place on Empire Boulevard that had like a sort of a yard. It was like some sort of a place that did repairs, of autos or something like that. It had like a sort of a yard. So what happened was that this helicopter guy, he came down in that little space, and they drove Dr. Weiss in a car to 770. And that was about 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe 6:30, 7. And we were already out on the street in big numbers. There were hundreds of Siddim were standing outside saying Tillim. And I saw Dr. Weiss get out of the car and go in. I saw him go in. But you couldn't get near the 770. They barricaded it all. You couldn't get near. But I saw him walk in. He looked like a bocha, He's a very young-looking person then. And he sort of, he got out of the car and he strode in very, alacrically into the building. As soon as the Rebbe saw him, the Rebbe was pleased. And the Rebbe changed completely his relationship with the doctor. Because Dr. Weiss had enough seichel to understand that he's got to do with a very special patient, you understand? And you can't rule the Rebbe by the same rules as you rule all the patients. And he kept that. And he made a combination of being strict about what you had to be strict, but nonetheless, he gave in to some of the Rebbe's, what you might call, obstinacy. He gave in, because he understood they came from a very high level, you follow? So he and the Rebbe got on beautifully from the beginning. And the Rebbe would chat with him, and the Rebbe asked him things, and the Rebbe, even though it was very hard for the Rebbe to speak, but so that was an amazing step forward, yeah. So now I want to tell you, like, what I think is, like, in a way, the main message of this whole amazing saga. This whole amazing story that occurred. And it's like this.
So Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe came out of his room to 770?
Rosh Chodesh was when the Rebbe came out the first time after the whole thing. And he appeared in the doorway, and he walked from the doorway to the car, and he went home.
Oh, okay.
You follow?
Yeah.
And the truth is that the Rebbe was still feeling very poorly. And it wasn't easy for him to come out at that point, but he was worried about the Chassidim. He wanted that the Chassidim should, and everything was based on that ruling by the Rebbe. He wanted that the Chassidim shouldn't feel that there was anything really wrong, you know? But there was at the beginning. So what I'm going to tell you is like this. The first night of Simchas Torah was immediately the next night. That was the next night. So the doctor said that the Rebbe has to have absolute quiet, that somebody who's suffering going through what he is going through, he cannot have noise. So downstairs you had thousands of people, and they all of a sudden making a huge noise with the dancing for the hakofah, you follow? So all of a sudden, the doctors, including Dr. Wise, said, listen, guys, I'm sorry, but we've got to have quiet. It's got to be absolute quiet. So they sent down one of their members or whatever, and he said, listen, you guys, I'm sorry, you have to find somewhere else, but you can't dance here. So in the meantime, the Rebbe had been sort of like half asleep. All of a sudden, the Rebbe popped his eyes on, and the Rebbe said, what's the whole Maiso Matan? He understood there was some sort of discussion going on. So the Rebbe said, what's the discussion? So Dr. Weiss said, we're trying to make it quiet downstairs. We're trying to send these guys away. So the Rebbe said, quiet? You wanted to be quiet downstairs? The Rebbe said, Chas v'sholem, it has to be doctrine with the guns. But they said, Rebbe, you can't do that, man. The Rebbe said, let's wait and see what happens. You follow? So they started downstairs going absolutely crazy with the song and the noise, and the Rebbe was very, very happy. And he was very restful, and the more the enormity of the noise, the better the Rebbe felt. So then, Dr. Wise hopped that he's got to change his line. He's working here with a divine person, not with something, and he's got to balance the chumras with the so-called coolers. So what happened was that people just went absolutely crazy, and there was dancing, and it was the most unbelievable noise. And the Rebbe was, he was still in because of the noise. Then all of a sudden, about 2:30 in the morning, Label Groner comes down. And he says, he gets up on a box, Label Groner, and he goes like this. It took a long time, but he tried to make quiet. He wanted. And in the end, he shouted to everybody that he has a message from the Rebbe, and he wants to give it over. So everybody, a message from the Rebbe. So that gradually caused everything to stop. Everything went and ultimately it went relatively very quiet. And you could hear his voice. He shouted in a loud voice, but you could hear, you could hear. In those days I could hear. Nowadays I don't know what would happen. But I could hear clearly. So I heard what Label Groner said. And he said like this, that they had to take a blood test from the Rebbe because they wanted, somebody who's taking medicine for a heart attack, they want to see what's happening with the blood. So they bought this syringe, they put the syringe in the Rebbe's arm and they drew out the blood. So the Rebbe was watching very carefully what was going on. So he asked the guy, the Ach, whoever he was that did it, how does that work? Why is it you just give a movement of that plunger and all of a sudden you get all the blood inside the thing? So he said, Rebbe, it's very simple. He said, that moving of the plunger causes a vacuum. And wherever there's a vacuum, if something comes towards the vacuum, it wants to run in and fill up the vacuum. So the blood starts at the beginning, and it feels there's a vacuum. It moves in to fill up the vacuum. So the Rebbe said, "Azoi, it's attacking." Yeah, the Rebbe had never actually thought about that. It appears. So the Rebbe said, "Good." So the Rebbe called over Label Groner, and he said, "Listen, you have to go down. And you have to give over a message in my name." And you have to tell them that it's brought down in Siddur, and the Rebbe said they will find the Mari Makoimas. I haven't got the quote now to say all the Mari Makoimas. That there's, according to Siddur, there's a Tzimtzum Harishon. And the Tzimtzum Harishon is you make what the Rizal calls a Makom Panui. And he said, after the fixing of the Makom Panui, at the Tzimtzum, all of a sudden it comes the cow. And the kav is gilui oil, and it's a very, very high madrega in the oil. So the Rebbe said, mostly in Chassidus we learn that it's two different inyanim. The first of all, there was a tzimtzum, and then there was a new inyan of we want gilui, and so then we make gilui to fill up the tzimtzum. So the Rebbe said it's brought down in certain places that that's not the pshat. No, the pshat is that the tzimtzum itself, that demands the gilui, and the tzimtzum because it's a vacuum, it draws, as it were, the light, and it draws the divine light. And the Rebbe said that's exactly the syringe. The Rebbe asked what they call it, I think syringe. The Rebbe said in English, that's the syringe, that the syringe creates a vacuum, remember, the hashpah loyt. Yeah. So the Rebbe said, nimtza, that the shlila brings a new chiyuv. So the Rebbe said, what's happening now is a bit of a vacuum. The Rebbe said, oh, but that's going to cause a whole new oil to run in and fill out the vacuum. And the Rebbe said the Lashon, that's what Label said then. I don't know how it appears in the Hanochah. But the Rebbe said, es v'tzochonim anaya tkufa in Lubavitch. That's what the Rebbe said. It's going to start a whole new. If up till now Lubavitch is being active, what's going to be from now further? That's what the Rebbe told him to give over. And so the Rebbe said that they should find the Mara Makoimas for them. So Label said he must admit that he doesn't know. So he turned to, what you call him?
Yoel Khan. Yoel Khan.
Yoel Khan. Yeah, but I understand he's not so well. He was standing not all that terribly far from where Label was. So all the eyes turned to Yoel. He's the big encyclopedia. He's supposed to know, where things are written. So everybody looks at Yoel and he says, Tzimtzum Montko. He sort of thought, he said, maybe in Toshin Dan. He said, yeah, but kids, he suggested a possibility, but then he said he has to think about it. He was honest and he said, he's got to consider it. The message was, the vacuum is going to draw a whole new light. It's going to be a whole new thing. So when everybody heard that, if they danced up to them, they really started going crazy. I said, I've never seen it. We're talking about thousands of people. The whole place, we've got all sorts of people from all around. By 2:30 in the morning, from all over, Borrowing, that some of them had come in. You follow? Or Flatbush and other places. You had thousands of Yidden left up here, Dutch City. I mean, of course, the majority of it left City. But people just went crazy. And they started dancing, and they started singing, the Rebbe is Gezon, the Rebbe is Gezon, the Rebbe is Gezon, Moshiach lo Shekum. And that was some hours, right up to about 6:30 in the morning, all the daylight. People were shrieking with tremendous power. The Rebbe is Gezon. And upstairs, the Rebbe was able to hear it. The Rebbe could hear it. And the Rebbe was very pleased about it. And he was much more restful. So Dr. Weiss said he learned his first lesson about the Rebbe on the first night of Simchas Torah. On the night, of Simchas Torah. Wow. And in the end, he became a chassid. In the end, he wore a garland, he grew a beard, and there were times later when he wouldn't give the Rebbe anything unless he had his garland. Yeah. Give medicine or give the Rebbe a shot or help the Rebbe with something, only if he had his garland. Yeah. So what I want to do is give over the message. We mustn't be upset by vacuums, you understand? And maybe, to a certain extent, it's good every now and then to make a vacuum of your own and cause a whole new surge of inner power, and it will come. the tzimtzum itself draws the cow. Not that the tzimtzum and the cow are two differing in Yonim, but one draws the other. And the Rabbi learned it from the Syrian, and he used the word Syrian. And that probably is written somewhere in the Anochas and everything. Oh, but I was there, and I heard it from Label Grun, and I remember exactly, I remember the word very clearly. And I remember how we danced that was the whole night. Good applause. But Mela, Hashem said, oh, that it should be a whole new Ashpur. And like we learned, the whole Inyan from Rosh Chodesh is a whole new Ashpur. And Dafki Aleido, to be born from the new, means the etzem appearance of a whole new Metzia that's bigger than the Milu Helavona. It's even bigger. The Milu Helavona is Shlomo HaMelech. And Shlomo HaMelech is the Beis HaMikdash, and that's unbelievable. But when you get reborn about something, and when you come from a bit of nothing into something, that's higher than all that. And what do you say to that? It's an unbelievable message. And that's the Nakuda Mashiach. That's the end of the Mashiach. Well, that's in to be reborn and to be a whole new Matthias and to take all that's hidden in Matthias and to make it into reality. Then he can hold by 15. Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Then he can be holding by 15. Oh, but before that, you got to fill up the vacuum. Of a male, everybody should be matzliah. And you should have only freilich vacuums, not vacuums like the Rebbe lived through at that particular moment. It should be freilich and happy vacuums, and you should fill them up with tremendous power from Lamaila Mea Yechida, beyond Yechida Shebenevet, and as the old expression, have get cracking, get moving, get down to work. And it should be with unbelievable tzlocha and bracha.
Amen.
Even so, lechatchila riva and uferatza.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Woody, you want to write that? You want to write? Rabbi Gafni, I'll go bring the car to the...
You're going to come down?
I'll bring it down.
Your wine.
But whatever you feel, as long as you won't get stuck or something. It's clear, is it?